Okay, this is a new presentation. It's the first time we played on a Transformation CD, and it's about the importance of denim. It's the importance of denim in many aspects. We all love denim. Denim is big business and is a big industry, but how big it is and how's the current situation? What are the main challenges? What are we doing to overcome all the problems? So this is a summary of findings. I mean, the actual presentation is much bigger than that, but I made a compact version for that event. So let's go for it, and let's see how's everything. Okay, we will go on 4 different levels. Is the importance of denim as an industry or business? What challenges are we facing? The ongoing solutions and the perspectives for the future. You will find on the internet many different figures about garments produced worldwide and everything. Based on good researchers and other market intelligence companies, the figure that is considered to be credible is and supported is 100 billion. 100 billion total garments units produced right per year. We're talking about levels of 2019, okay, before the pandemic. Jeans or denim garments, not only jeans, denim garments represent 5%. It's 5 billion sold every year. Well, if we look at the value, apparel is big. We're talking about $427 billion in 2020. And it was expected on the forecast to reach 636 billion in 2021, which meant a 20% plus on compound annual growth rate, which I think is far too optimistic. But okay, let's see how are the figures at the end of the year anyway. The same forecast from experts on that, considering COVID, they foresee a growth of 7% CAGR to reach 842.3 billions in 2025. This is tomorrow. The garment of denim, of course, is a part of it, but it represents 13% in terms of value. So it's 5% in terms of number of units, but it's 30%, more than 13% in terms of value. Here, this is market value. Okay, if we look at the value of as industry, let's say as producing industry, you can calculate roughly at 25% of this value. 25% is, the actual business, the fabrics and garments transferred to the brands and retailers. Okay, so how is our business compared to other massive business out there? For example, what about smart mobile phones? It's big, okay, but apparently it's not that far away. This is of course relative. We're talking about billions, okay, so it's a lot of money. Laptops is relatively, it's a part of this business, and as a denim apparel, we are close to coffee business, which is, by the way, the most important drink. I mean, the most important beverage that in the planet now. Just to give you an idea how things are, is the automotive industry, for example, is around 3.5 trillion US dollars, according to McKinsey. Okay, so let's move on. So what are the challenges that we are facing on this large industry? It's a huge industry. Everybody loves denim. It's large. Okay, what are we facing? Okay, we have different topics to check. It's environmental, social. We have a big problem with overconsumption and overproduction. They are related. And also we have a big challenge of to be innovative, to innovate every time. So if we go to environmental challenges and we focus on water out of the many, but water is the most urgent thing to tackle. And if you see on the right part of your screen, you will see that the fabric producers, the main fabric producers in 2020 are, China, Pakistan, India, Egypt, and Hong Kong. And if we look at the garment exporters, Bangladesh is #1 above China for the first year, 2018. Then it's Turkey, Pakistan, and Mexico. If you look at these countries here, you will see they are all on the high or extremely high area of water. So water is a problem for us and the apparel industry in general, because we're consuming resources that are required for agriculture, for drinking, or for other things where water is more important than for making garments. So this is one big challenge. What are we going to do in a planet that, water is not as accessible as it used to be not long ago? It's a big issue. Then on social changes, there are a lot of things to improve. We are really far behind where we should be regarding social rights and gender equality and things like that. Let's go one by one. The first thing, and I connect this on social, is that we have a huge, long, and complex supply chain. And in every part of the supply chain, we need a lot of people. And we need a lot of, equipment, resources, and everything. So the longer is an industrial process, and the more complex it is, the more resources are required. You have to do always something in every step. Then we are in an industry, especially on denim, where hand labor is extremely important. So every person that is working to make a pair of jeans has to assemble 15 pieces at least. That means using 1.5, 1.6 meters of denim, 180 meters of thread. That's a lot. Rivets and buttons and tags, and there is leather or jacqueline, a zipper if required, and it takes around 15 minutes and tougher steps to make a pair of jeans. And all this is done with a person and a sewing machine. The level of automation is still very low in our industry. There are machines that basically take the fabric, cut it, and they sew. They can, they move the pieces of the pattern are moving around a table. They're like floating, and this is automatic stitching, but this is still on the beginning. The workload is very high, and there is a problem here. I will come back later when we speak about the salaries. Is that in many cases the workers, the operators, are paid by the garment and not by the hour. Recently in California, they have changed the law. So now the workers on the apparel industry are paid by the hour and not by garment. This is a way to go. And the delivery times are crazy. In our time, we have big retailers like, let's say, Zara. I'm not talking about Inditex. This is Zara, one of the brands of Inditex, and they make 24 collections per year. And H&M makes 16 collections per year. So that means moving garments and articles, every day, every week, all the time, and is very, very time consuming, and is not very good for the cost of the transports, the cost and the impact on the environment because of the transport required. You see here a map of what are the most important garment manufacturing countries in the world. China is the biggest, sure. It's going down because Bangladesh and Vietnam, they are going up. But what happened at COVID is that China became important again because they kind of recovered from COVID earlier than other countries. And then in order to continue with the supply chain active and open, some brands move orders to China again. The situation in Bangladesh and Vietnam and India regarding COVID is still kind of unclear. So China is taking a kind of advantage of this situation. But the idea is to move away from China and establish business or sourcing offices in other countries. In Europe, we are very small. I mean, if you compare the biggest one, which is Italy, Germany, we are at the level of what? Less than Vietnam. Okay, we export, but in Europe we are not a player. The UK is here, 8.8 billion. So this is how things are set for the garment making business. Okay, this is one thing that is very painful and is very important: the wages, the low wages. Please take a look at the slide, or the part of the slide on your right, because the living wage is that on the black boxes, and the minimum wage are those on different colors. So you can see the difference between minimum wage and living wage, and it's massive in some cases. So you can work, the workers are, can work for all their lives, but they're not reaching the level of living wage, and this is extremely sad and needs a fixing, an immediate fixing. What I say it needs is that we all need to do something. It's not that someone has to do something. We are part of this business. We have to do something. So gender inequalities. This is a woman's business. I mean, making denim, making apparel, making denim is women's. There are 60 billion that are workers in the apparel segment. And then you have to consider other millions on stores, picking up cotton fields, and most of them are women. For example, in Asia, 56.5% are women, and in some countries are even 80%. Almost all of the people working there are women, and unfortunately, the salary differences are very, very sad. So there is an average of 18% in Asia, but in some countries, the situation is much worse. Then ladies are under-promoted, very sad, and terrible is that there's still problems with sexual harassment, which is kind of normalized and tolerated in some countries. This is absolutely terrible. And again, we have to change it. It's not someone, it's us. So we have problems when processing garments. A lot of people have health issues because the ventilation is not enough, the breathing of toxic substances, and there are many toxic substances out there that can damage. The friction of garments and the mechanical operations generate dust that if it's inhaled, that causes a lot of problems. The buildings are very unsafe. You may recall some cases of buildings collapsing in Bangladesh, for example. Then the shifts are very long. So the workers are working for 96 hours per week, which is amazing for little money, as you have seen. Another thing that is terrible, and is still happening, fortunately things are getting better in some countries, is that there is still a lot of forced and child labor. So you see figures, yes, 168 million children used as labor. And in some cases, like in the Sumangali scheme, Sumangali is a scheme in the South India where the families send the young girls to a company for 5 years to have a job, to get some money, and to get education. But that girl loses contact with the family, and this is for years. It's very sad. It's the only way for families to, create a career for the children. The salary, of course, is ridiculous, $1 per day. That's crazy. Well, another thing that we are facing is that, and this is one thing that in Transformers Foundation we are discussing, is that the difference between margins between the brands or the companies that are the face of denim to end consumers and the rest of the supply chain along the supply chain is tremendous. I mean, we can consider a gross, this is a real case, 70% is a real case. I cannot mention the brand, but it's a real case, a 70% gross margin. What gets to the end of the supply chain at the worker levels is peanuts. So there is a problem on the balance of the profit. And another thing is the power imbalance between brands and suppliers. The brands have absolute power. I invite you all to go to the transformersfoundation.org and get the annual report that we released last year. And if you go through it, it's 78 pages, and you will get a lot of information about what's going on or what was going on at COVID times between brands and suppliers. In the UK, you had issues like Boho and other brands, not to be mentioned, but this is also a terrible thing happening in our industry. So, what's wrong with our industry? I say sense of containment because I don't know how to phrase that. What I say is our industry going crazy? Well, actually, it looks like that because we are purchasing, or they are purchasing 56 million tons. We're not talking about garments, tons of garments every year. And this is increasing until 2030. And we generate a huge amount of residues. And, we are purchasing more every year. In 2019, in the UK, there were sales of 2 tons per minute in the UK. That's a massive amount of garments and textiles. And then most of it, or a lot of it, ends in landfills in the US. And this is terrible. And the amount of recycled material, even though that now is becoming, more important, and you will listen from an expert about it, is gaining momentum, but this is still very small. I mean, the amount that we recycle fibers post-consumer is very small, 12% only. So this is the business. We are over-consuming. We are over-consuming. We are buying jeans like crazy. We are buying jeans because we need them, or just because we like them, or just because, listen, I want to add something new to my wardrobe. It's fine, but look, the impact is that we are generating overconsumption. The selling price of the denim in the US for ladies and men is different. This is not because men we like denim in a different way. It's because the brands target specifically ladies, women. Okay, they are the most important market. So they attract women to the stores with better prices, new styles, and everything. It's a more sensitive segment for fashion. Then what is happening is that the middle class denim segment is disappearing. Either people go to very high-end, expensive jeans, nice rigids with everything, and we are talking about 200, 250 euros per pair, to give an idea. And we go to mass fashion. The prices, the selling prices for mass fashion jeans are ridiculous. We're talking about 10 euros or even less sometimes. The other thing is that we are generating a lot of residues, and that are not easy to process into new fibers because of the complexity of the fibers and because we put accessories on it. Then we have, as denim designers, you have a lot of pressure to design new things. And you have a lot of tools for that because you can play with different steps along the supply chain. The production is very complex, and it's a very high versatility on design. You can change something, you can put here, there, you can cut like that, and you make a new pair of jeans. The suppliers are also acting as developers for the brands. So the suppliers are not only producing what the brands they want to produce, they're also offering new things to the brands continuously. The innovation chain on denim is long, so there's a multiplicity of innovation. When I call innovation chain is that you produce one innovation in step number one, but in step number two, there are 3 products out of this first. And on step number 3, there are 10 products out of first one. So it's 1, 2, 1, 3, 10. It's a chain, it's a progression. And denim survives on new articles every time. So we cannot tell people that this is the way it is. It's vintage, it's great, but even vintage is regarded as new, is regarded as fashion today. Even vintage is fashion, is new. So what are we doing? Okay, we are improving on materials. Certainly, you will hear today about regenerative cellulose from Michael, for example. Bast fibers, mostly is taking care, and they're a very important part on synthetic polymers that is gaining momentum. That's very, very important to consider at the moment of design. Think on all the possibilities of materials that you have available. Then on the application, for example, on dyes or chemicals, you can have applications on foam. That's technically possible. It's starting. There are some interesting yard pretreatments with chemicals, and you can use nitrogen and other atmospheres for higher efficiency or different effects. Water. What are we going to do with water if we don't have water? Okay, the idea is to reuse and recycle as much as possible. And that's the reason why many denim mills are investing big money on ultrafiltration, on reverse osmosis. Well, it could be direct osmosis as well, but okay, reverse osmosis systems to reuse the water again. So they filter the impurities and they can recycle the water again. With these systems, you can recover 98% of water, because 2% is lost by evaporation or leakages. And then the recycling of material. This is important. Denim is a pioneer, is one of the strongest industries in apparel. It's the strongest, I would say, on recycling materials. We are pioneering on recycling things for good. So in terms of innovation and operational safety and health, is that we are using less aggressive types of applications, less sprays and friction treatments, mechanical treatments. We use robots, very advanced, and we save lives by implementing extreme regulations on personal protection, goggles and masks and all the protection. This is compulsory, and we are discussing with the brands to implement these at all levels, all levels. And another thing is education in operational aspects. This is, people need to know what are they doing in order to prevent accidents. So in social, we continue on continuous investments in education. This is very important. The salaries must be balanced. There must be an increase on salaries to reach the living wage and not the minimum wage. There must be freedom of association. The workers more participate. This is a very syndicalist type of thing, but this is good for the industry. All this is positive for the industry. Then for you as designers, and I am, 2 slides more, think on the future. Don't make designs for tomorrow. Don't make designs for the next collection. Make designs for the future that you can adapt to the new collections. So my advice is to go into these pages. Mistra is a very, very interesting organization. They are in Sweden, and all the papers that they publish are good to read. So I advise you to go to Mistra and take a look at what they have published. And also, of course, you know Fashion Revolution very well. So everything that they publish is also good to know about. So I'm not a designer, but things that I have collected outside is, okay, you can go for timeless designs, things that are, you can wear forever. Now, for a pair of jeans that was $50 at the early 70s, people are paying almost 1,000 euros for an old pair of Levi's for Gauss 70s collection, unisex designs, and other things like neutral designs that combine with other garments. For me, rigid and soft rigid denims is a big market for denim. We need to explore that more. The quality of the materials is very important. Make jeans to last, and then make designs considering eventual reusing or recycling. So this is my last slide. What are the brands doing to keep the denim consumers interested? They are going on different type of models. They're leasing or renting. Of course, they are fixing any jeans that are broken or ripped or whatever. They have new life markets for jeans. There are discounts for return use garments, and there are also loyalty programs, fidelity programs, where every denim that you buy, you get some points. And these points are not exchanged for new garments. They are exchanged, for example, to have access to special collections, for example, or to have access to theaters or other type of events that the brand is supporting. So this is my last, it is. So I stop sharing. I hope I am on time, hopefully. And now if there are any questions for, from any of you, please do it. Put all the questions that you have on the Q&A. Thank you.
There's some good questions already. I'll read you. I think Joanne's done a lovely poll for us as well. But the question is coming through: what do you think about sourcing garments from other countries? Should they be less? If so, would it affect the country's GDP? That's one of the questions. And we've got a poll as well. Oh, what would you change first in the denim industry? Low living wages, gender equality, deficit working conditions, forced labor, child. Okay, very interesting.
Well, I think in that second question, there is no reason why one thing has to go first. I mean, we can do everything at the same time. I mean, fixing living wages with gender equality is something that are absolutely compatible. So there is no reason why we should go first with that or not. Everything must go fast to the right level. Nearshoring is the first question. Nearshoring is something that some big brands are already doing. Okay, you will hear soon some big brands establishing big centers, denim centers in Europe, and they want to work with suppliers around Europe. This is, a decision that is critical because as the guy or the person asking the question, that has an impact on the sourcing country, origin sourcing country. This is going to happen, and it has to reach an equilibrium. Okay, there will be nearshoring that will continue. And then that will force to the countries that are currently supplying denim to become more innovative and more attractive in terms of not only cost, but in terms of innovation. I think everything is to reach a balance for that. It's a very good question, actually.
Obviously, a lot of manufacturers like Cytex and other people are making their facilities in environments where it can be in a city center, not in an industrial estate. So of course, having a factory in a town center definitely is happening. People are heading that direction. So, right, am I correct in saying that? Where the image and how we're making things is more cleaner, or about to become more cleaner. So
no, Mohsin, it's right. I mean, but this is something that also is positive for denim, because that gives the idea that making denim is not a dirty business. So when you have a nice white blue place in the middle of a forest that is making denim and making wash down, and there is no dirty water and there is no black smoke to the air, sent to the air, that is giving that denim is not that dirty, and it can be a very clean industry. So can this be, can this happen? Yes, because it's already happening.
Yeah, even like sort of Candiani, who like Alberto is talking tomorrow, I believe, his factory is in a nature reserve. So it proves a point that you can have an amazing denim factory in a nature reserve and still be okay. So yeah,
that's very true.
I think the poll's about to end, so we're gonna. I don't know. It's looking quite interesting actually, what people are saying. But our sets of students here that are saying, and thank you so much for your questions. Let's see what the other questions are. Someone saying incredible sort of presentation from Bob. Thank you, Bob. How do you see the future of denim? I think for that student, you just have to watch the next 3 days and see all of our opinions and make your own like decision what you think the future is. Sourcing, that was just the start. So yeah, it's just sourcing. You just answered. About sustainability. Will they be taking steps in the future? Yeah, everyone is looking very. It's not a trend. We're all doing it in all aspects of everything we're doing, from making the fabric to making the garments to the workers. We're all thinking about it very carefully to make everything better for everyone.
Sustainability is not a trend. I mean, actually, the term sustainability is even it's something that doesn't mean anything. What we have to do is the right thing every time, every minute, every second. Just do the right thing for the planet and for the. Sustainability is a term that is overused, is word out, doesn't mean anything, because it doesn't consider social, doesn't consider operational health. So the idea is that everything we do is with a clear focus. We have to respect the planet, and we have to reduce impact, and we need to help people wherever they produce the denim. This is what we need to heavily be involved.
Okay, so the poll has just ended. So it looks like, forced child labor is the one that everyone is more concerned about at the moment, which is, yes, I unfortunately have seen child labor in my career. So yeah, I agree with that as well.
That's very sad. It makes all sense. But the only way that forced labor can change is by policymakers setting the laws to prevent that, and punishing all those that are not making the right thing, in a heavy way. But yes, I agree with the result of the poll. Child labor and forced labor are unacceptable.
Yeah, it's sad. I remember seeing a factory, and they argued with me actually. They said, "Oh, Mohsin, the parents go to work and their kids, they take them with them because they're from the village." So I was like, "Oh, it's really hard to understand the full problem." But it's a problem for sure. But that's how they argued it to me, which I didn't agree with, but that's how it was.
No, you cannot agree with that. No.
Okay, there are some questions here, and they've been coming through, like Miguel. So maybe it might be we have to move on to the next segment now with Andrew. Yes. If you could be so kind and maybe answer some of the Q&A questions, that'd be awesome.